I'm not sure how to start this video. I'm so sorry.
Peace and restore my faith. Sorry. But a man can be kind and a father should be great.
I have stopped and restarted this camera probably 50 times. I originally had planned on discussing songs that wrecked me and just talking about this one really spoke to me, and I feel like I wouldn't be doing it justice if I just did a blip on why it affects me the way it does. And we're just gonna jump into the reason why Kelly Clarkson performing Piece by Piece destroys me. Hello, and welcome to Princess Confessions. So my biological father was in my life pretty consistently up until I was 11 years old. In that time, I suffered emotional, verbal, and physical abuse because of him. And I like to say that I'm a survivor of domestic abuse. It wasn't pretty, and I don't have many good memories at all with him. Actually, the few moments that I have with him that are tinted with any type of happiness are kind of fleeting and hard for me to remember. I did not have an easy childhood. Like I said, my father was consistently in my life until I was age 11. And then once my parents separated, because I was the one that had bore most of the abuse, I had the option of seeing him if I wanted to on the weekends when he had custody. And for the first year or so, I really wanted to see him. I felt like I needed to see him. I felt obligated to see him, and then I realized that my presence didn't really make a difference to him. It's a really hard thing to understand when you're 11, 12, even 13 years old, that your parent doesn't really care if you're there or not.
But your love, it isn't free. It has to be earned. Back then I didn't have anything you needed, so I was worthless.
And that really angered me and upset me, and we would have these shouting matches at each other because I just wanted him to say that he wanted me there, and he never did. It never felt genuine. So I stopped seeing him, and the last time that I physically saw him, I was 17 years old. I had just gotten a job at one of the local restaurants in town, and he lived in the town. He lived in the area that I lived in, so the chances of running into him were pretty high, even though this was the first and last time that I actually ran into him. So I got a job at this local restaurant as a host, and I was going into my shift one night, and as I was parking my car and walking through the parking lot, he walked out of the building. The restaurant was attached to a mall. And he walked out of the building, and I instantly recognized him. And I thought, oh, I should say something. And I was like, no, he'll say something. And we walked towards each other. He wasn't really paying attention to me. Even though I was completely fixed on him because I knew exactly who he was. And he glanced up at me, looked directly at me, and then kept walking as if he had just passed anyone else on the street. And I remember kind of standing there for a moment and being like, I should say something. I should be like, hey, Dad, or hi, it's me, Marty. Remember your son? But I didn't. I didn't know what to do. I was completely shocked. and caught off guard by it. And I just went into work and just kind of went about the rest of my night. And that was the last time I saw him. The last time I spoke to him, so I was 17 the last time I saw him. Last time I spoke to him, I was in college. I had my first boyfriend, and I was home for whatever reason. I was home from school. I think I was a sophomore, and I was home for some type of break. And he called my mom and my stepdad's house, I think to talk to my mom about something regarding child support. And I happened to pick up the phone, and I picked up and said hi, and he mistook me for my mom, which happens. I have dealt with the fact that my voice sounds feminine, especially over the phone, and I've accepted that. However, him not recognizing my voice just set me off, and I went off on him about how this was his son, who he doesn't remember, and the last thing I said to him was, I'm gay, I'm in a very happy relationship, and I hope you enjoy your life. And then my mom picked up the phone, and the last thing I remember ever hearing him say was him yelling at my mom, "My son is gay! My son is gay!" That's what it sounded like. That's exactly, he was screaming about me being gay. So if that is any indication of how he handled raising little old Marty, then you might have some understanding the turmoil that he caused me growing up. That was when I was 20. So fast forward a few years, and in my 20s I was in college and I was moving out on my own and really hadn't thought a lot about him. And now fast forward to I'm 28 years old, actually just turned 28 years old. I've met Jordan, we've moved in together, he's proposed, and we're getting ready to move to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which was super exciting for us, and I'm so grateful for the adventure. Love Jordan to death. And we had already gone down and found our apartment, and now we were just in the process of getting ready to move from Maryland. So we were getting our apartment together. In Maryland, we were finishing up our jobs, and one of the things that we had to do was Jordan had to go down and finalize the papers for our new place. So he flew down on a Monday morning and literally was in Fort Lauderdale for, I think, less than 10 hours and tried to finalize our apartment, which didn't end up working out. It's a whole nother story. He got interviewed for a job while he was dealing with the apartment stuff. And at some point during the day, he received a phone call from my mom. A couple hours later, I am out of work and I'm waiting for him to come home from Florida. And he calls me and says that his flight's landed, and I'm like, great. And we only lived a few minutes from the airport, so I was going to go pick him up. And as I'm driving to the airport, he calls me again, and he's asking me how I am and what my day was like, and it's kind of just mundane stuff, but at the same time, it's this could wait until you get in the car. I'm literally gonna see you in 5 minutes, and I didn't say that, but it was I'm gonna pick you up. I'm 2 minutes away. Hang up. So I pick him up. He gets in the car, and his energy was just different. And if you know me, then you know that I'm one of those people that I pick up on others' energy, and when that shifts or changes, I'm the first one to want to know why. And so we already had a bunch of issues with our apartment that day, and I thought, well, maybe that's just weighing on him. And it's been a long day. He interviewed, he ran back and forth between places in Fort Lauderdale, and then flew home. Now he's got to deal with me, who I'm just a mess anyway. So, I just kind of shrug it off and whatever, he's tired. So we get back to our apartment and we're kind of just milling around. I had dinner ready for him. I think we played video games for a little bit. And then we decided to go to bed. And one of the things that I love, and we still do this to this day, is that we don't just go to bed. We literally will lay in our bed and banter and chat for at least an hour and kind of like crack each other up until we like finally decide to go to sleep. And this night felt different. There was something off about it, and I could tell something was off, and that there was something he wasn't telling me. And I wasn't going to press the issue because, like I said, I thought he was just tired and it had been a really long day. So it was like, whatever. The last thing he has to deal with is me having an anxiety attack over something stupid. He gets really quiet while we're laying there. And he says, I have something I need to tell you. And I don't know how you're going to take it. Which is like one of the worst things you could ever say to me. Like, just, if you have something that you need to tell me, you just have to say it. Just get it out. Because if you prep me that way, then I'm gonna freak out. And so immediately my mind goes to, oh my gosh, she's calling off our engagement. Like, holy hell, what am I gonna do? Like, help. And he grabs my hand and he says, I got a phone call from your mom this afternoon. Which I'm like, okay, why the hell is my mom calling you? Like, what's going on? And he says, she told me that your dad died today. And I broke out laughing. I literally started laughing because it was just the most out there thing that I think he could have possibly said after he had prefaced it with, I have something to tell you. It was like furthest thing from my mind was that my biological father had died. And so I laughed and I was like, okay. And he was amazing. And I love this man so much. He was incredible. And he hugged me, even though I didn't really want to be hugged. I just kept saying, I'm fine and it's fine. And it is what it is. Like, I hadn't spoken to him in years. I hadn't seen him in over 10 years. Like, of course I thought about him, but I hadn't really thought about him in a long time. And so Jordan is hugging me and kind of placating me, but I'm like, I'm fine. This is okay. Like, whatever, good riddance. And I remember like chuckling and then we went to sleep and that was it for the night. The next morning we are getting ready for work and he asked me if I'm going into school that day. I was a teacher at the time. And I was like, of course I am. Like, why wouldn't I? And he didn't say anything, but I knew exactly what he was insinuating. And I was like, Jordan, I'm fine. Like, it's okay. And he hugged me and I remember he grabbed me and said, this isn't going to hit you now, and it might not hit you hours from now, and it might not even hit you this week, but at some point, this is going to hit you, and I'm going to be here for you. And again, I was in this state of mind that everything was fine and nothing had changed. I was like, thanks, but I'm good. Have a good day. And I went to work, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't say anything. It was just a normal day of work. That was on a Tuesday. Wednesday was the same thing. I went to work, didn't say anything, went about my daily routine. And then Thursday, I was on my lunch break. I was talking with one of my co-teachers, and somehow we started discussing our parents, and something came up about her childhood, and so our parents naturally came up. And it always happens whenever you mention that you have a step parent. And I had clarified because there was a discrepancy with my sibling, where I told her that I had a stepdad, and people's natural people are like naturally inclined to ask, oh, well, where's your mom, or where's your real dad? And so of course she asked, well, where's your dad? And without hesitating, I was like, he died on Monday. And that was the first time I had said it out loud. And of course, her natural reaction was to jump up and ask me if I was okay and hug me and console me. And the moment that happened, I immediately wanted to make sure that she was okay and let her know that she hadn't upset me, that I wasn't upset, even though inside I was dealing with the fact that I just spoken out loud that my dad died, that my biological father, one of my parents, had died. And so something that I developed as like a defense mechanism for this, when people ask about my real dad and I explain that he's died, and then, you know, they get upset, is like, well, I lost a parent, but I didn't lose my dad, because my stepdad is my dad, and I call him dad, and I love him very much, and that's my dad. And I don't think I've ever referred to my biological father as a dad, other than when I was younger or just in passing. So yeah, my go-to phrase when I have to explain that my biological father has passed away is that I lost a parent, I didn't lose a dad. There's a difference. So I get through the rest of the day, and I'm driving home, and the song Piece by Piece by Clarkson plays on the radio. And I had heard this song like hundreds of times. It had been out for months by then. And it wasn't her singing the song, but it was what the radio host said after she finished. He discussed her performance of it on American Idol. And I hadn't watched American Idol. This was like one of the seasons I missed. And he said how emotional it was, and how it was refreshing to see her be emotional, because she usually delivers these beautiful powerhouse performances that are flawless, and to see her break a little bit was very genuine and beautiful. And I was like, ooh, I want to watch that. I need to see that. Because if you know me, you know I love a dramatic moment. So I get home, I get changed out of my school clothes, and I get comfy for the night, and I set up my computer, my laptop on the kitchen counter, and I find this performance on YouTube. And when I say that it broke me, I mean it physically broke me. I fell to the floor not even a minute in and just cried hysterically. And so Jordan and I worked different schedules. And so I would get home before he was. It was going to be a few hours before he got home. And I didn't want to bother him. And I didn't want to upset him. I knew if I like messaged him or called him that it would upset him, and he would try to leave as soon as possible. And so I laid on my living room floor crying and listening to this song and her breaking over and over again for probably 2 hours. And the line that really got me was when she said that she'd made something of herself, and now he wanted to come back. And it was in that moment, and it was in that line, that I realized that all the what ifs I'd ever built around my biological father, all the hopes of him coming around and loving me and accepting me, were gone. They were done. It was never going to happen. I was never going to have, and I will never have, my biological father say to me, I love you and I accept you and I'm so proud of you. And it's so sad to say out loud, but there's also something really liberating about it and really freeing. And it was like this weight had been lifted, because I didn't have to think about, what if I ran into him? Would he recognize me? What if I saw him in Florida, of all places, and he still hated me for being gay? What if he picked up the phone and called me and wanted to talk to me and know what I was up to? All these things, and any chance of that ever happening were gone. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. And watching Kelly break during this performance, and I know, like, so this was part of the farewell season, so there's that emotion to it as well, but this song is super, super precious and important to her, and you can see that in the way that she constructed, in the way she sings it. And watching her break and watching her cry gave me strength to do it. Because it was like, you know what, we're gonna get this all out now and never deal with it again. So I end up laying on the floor, completely broken down for a few hours, and at this time, Jordan is now home from work, and he came in, and I didn't say anything. I didn't even realize that he'd come into the apartment, because I was just that distraught. And he found me on the floor, and he didn't freak out. He didn't rush to me. He just calmly came and sat next to me and held me, and I'd never felt more safe or more loved in my life by somebody. And I think that's what makes the song even more amazing, is that she sings about finding somebody who makes her feel worthy and makes her feel loved and beautiful. And that's what I had found when I lost this person. And I have to give it up to my husband. He is so amazing and loves me unconditionally and is just such a powerhouse in my corner constantly. And I'm so fortunate for him. So he sat with me on the floor and we listened to the song, and I explained everything that I just explained in this video to you guys. I explained to him what I was going through and what I was feeling, and that feeling of never being able to have that validation from somebody that you've always wanted it from. And we listened to it a couple times, and then he started searching up random things, and somehow it turned into this night of us just sharing goofy things on the internet that we found funny and laughing, while also him allowing me to talk about my biological father and talk about the emotions I was going through. And it was a really beautiful moment in our relationship, and something that I'll always cherish is the way that he handled that, the way he handled me. It's been 4 years since my biological father passed. It's been 4 years since I first watched his performance. And to this day, I cannot listen to the song Piece by Piece without crying or without getting a little emotional. I can't even sing it. If I try to sing along with it, I'm done. I'm done. And so I thank you guys for listening to this. If you made it this far, I thank you so much for your support. I love you. And thank you for allowing me to explain my connection to this song, why this song wrecks me. I can't promise that all my videos going forward will be super positive and over the top, but I can promise that the next video I make will be happy and fun, and we'll get back to a more sassy Princess Marty. As always, I hope that you're well. I miss you. Goodbye, my darlings.